I needed a day off. I went to the park to completely forget about studying English because, honestly, I was exhausted by it. But I came back with a secret that made me sound more fluent than months of textbook learning. Today, I'm sharing the full story and the exact phrases I stumbled upon. This wasn't something I found in a classroom or a book. It was a secret I discovered when I was supposed to be relaxing, and it changed everything. For weeks, my brain had felt like a complete mess of English grammar rules. I was drowning in verb tenses, conditional clauses, and vocabulary lists I was trying to force myself to memorize. I'd wake up every morning with this dread about having to speak English. I wanted to be fluent, but it just felt like a struggle. I was speaking, but I could hear myself doing it. Every sentence was this careful construction project. Is that the right preposition? Did I use the present perfect correctly? It was exhausting. I was so focused on the rules of the language that I'd forgotten how to just live in it. The breaking point came on a Friday. I was staring at a page explaining the difference between which and that, and the words just started to blur. I felt this wave of frustration wash over me. I wasn't getting any closer to sounding like a native speaker. I was getting closer to sounding like a confused robot. My conversations felt stiff and unnatural. I knew a lot, but I had no flow. That's when I decided I was taking a holiday from English. 1 full day. No apps, no podcasts, no grammar books. I was going to give my brain a break. I decided to head to the local park, a place where the only thing I needed to figure out was which path to take next. The next morning, I walked into the park and took a deep breath. The air was crisp, the sun was out, and for the first time in a while, the sound of birds chirping was just a soundtrack, not something I was trying to describe in my head. It was a literal breath of fresh air. I found a bench under a big oak tree, away from everyone, and just sat. I watched dogs chasing balls and families having picnics. I wasn't trying to analyze anything. I was just watching. I could feel the tension in my shoulders start to release. This was exactly what I needed, a total escape. Or so I thought. After about an hour of just enjoying the quiet, 2 people, a man and a woman who were clearly native English speakers, sat down on a bench nearby. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but their conversation just drifted over. At first, I let it all fade into the background, but then a few of their phrases just grabbed my attention and pulled me right out of my peaceful state. "So, what are you up to this weekend?" the man asked. "Not much. I'm absolutely knackered after this week. Might just have a lazy one. What about you? Still heading to that market on Sunday?" The weather looks a bit iffy. Forecast said it might rain. I reckon we'll just play it by ear." I froze. Play it by ear? My brain went into overdrive. Was that an idiom? I'd studied hundreds of idioms, but I'd never seen that one. I literally pictured someone playing a musical instrument shaped like a human ear. It made 0 sense. The woman nodded. Fair enough. Probably a wise move. No point in getting soaked." Fair enough. I'd heard that one, but I never really got it. It sounded a little dismissive, but her tone was friendly. In my textbook world, the correct reply would be something like, "I agree. That is a reasonable decision." But she just said, "Fair enough." 2 simple words that seemed to do the work of a whole sentence. They kept chatting, their conversation flowing with an ease that I was so jealous of. They weren't building sentences, they were just talking. My carefully built English suddenly felt like a heavy, clunky suit of armor. Their English was like a comfortable pair of jeans, perfectly suited for a day in the park. And in that moment, I felt that familiar deflation that every language learner knows, that huge gap between the English in books and the English people actually speak. I thought I knew English. I could pass tests in English, but I couldn't follow a simple chat about weekend plans without feeling like I was trying to crack a code. The problem wasn't my vocabulary or grammar. The problem was that I had learned all the rules of the road, but I had no idea how to actually drive. For a few minutes, I just sat there feeling annoyed. My relaxing day off had been totally hijacked by my own insecurities about English. I almost got up to leave, ready to go home and bury my face in a grammar book to figure out these mystery phrases. But then something shifted. The frustration started turning into curiosity. What did they mean? Why did their English sound so different, so alive? I looked over at them, laughing and chatting, completely unaware of the little language crisis they had just caused, and I realized something. They weren't speaking special English. They were just speaking English. This was the real thing. So I pulled out my phone. My thumb hovered over my usual translation apps, but I stopped myself. That was the old way. Instead, I just opened a search engine. Feeling like a spy, I carefully typed in the first phrase. What does play it by ear mean? The answer loaded instantly. To decide how to deal with a situation as it develops, rather than having a plan. To improvise. I read the definition again. It was so simple. It had nothing to do with music. It was a strategy for dealing with uncertainty, packed into 4 little words. He wasn't sure about the weather, so they would decide on the day. They'd improvise. It was the perfect phrase for that situation. That was my aha moment. The secret wasn't about learning more individual words. It was about understanding how native speakers use these small, efficient, pre-packaged phrases to get their ideas across. It wasn't about building sentences brick by brick. It was about using these ready-made parts that make talking faster and more natural. My day off wasn't ruined. It was transformed. I wasn't in a park anymore. I was in a living classroom. The great English secret wasn't some complex grammar rule. It was all of these little phrases that act like conversational glue. I spent the next hour on that bench, not relaxing, but investigating. I wasn't a frustrated student anymore. I was a linguistic detective, and I had just cracked my first case. So now I want to break down the exact phrases I discovered that day, the ones that kicked off this whole change in how I think. These aren't just words, they're tools. Once you know how to use them, your English will instantly start to feel more natural. The first one, to play it by ear. Let's wait to see what the situation is, and then we'll decide. You can simply say, let's play it by ear. It's relaxed, spontaneous, and natural. The second phrase, fair enough. This one is a powerhouse. 2 little words that mean, I understand and accept what you just said. Instead of saying, I understand your reasoning and accept your decision, just say, fair enough. It's quick, it's smooth, and it keeps the conversation flowing. The third phrase, I reckon. I used to think this was old-fashioned, but people use it all the time. It's a casual way to say, I think, or in my opinion. It makes your opinion sound less absolute and more conversational. Instead of, I think the movie was boring, you could say, I reckon it was a bit overrated. It's subtle, but it sounds very natural. And the fourth phrase, to be knackered. The woman said, I'm absolutely knackered after this week. It just means extremely tired, but it's so much more expressive than very tired. You'd use it with friends, not in a formal meeting, but it makes your English instantly sound alive and real. That day in the park changed my entire approach to English. I stopped seeing fluency as this huge mountain of grammar rules I had to climb. Instead, I started seeing it as a sea of useful, natural phrases I just needed to learn how to swim in. I started listening differently to TV shows, to podcasts, to people. I started listening for these little combos. I became a phrase collector. And I started to use them. I remember the first time. I was on a video call with a friend from the UK, and we were trying to schedule our next call. The old me would have said something complicated like, that time could be a problem because my previous meeting might not be finished. Instead, I just said, I'm not sure if I'll be done by then. Can we play it by ear? He just nodded and said, yeah, no worries. Just message me when you're free. No confusion, no hesitation. It was just a smooth, effortless moment, and I felt this surge of confidence. I hadn't just used a phrase, I had connected. That's the real transformation. Realizing that fluency isn't about being perfect, it's about being understood and connecting with people. It's about having the right tool for the right moment. So, the 4 phrases from today that will help you sound more natural are: number 1, to play it by ear, to decide as you go. Number 2, fair enough, a way to say, I understand and accept your reason. Number 3, I reckon, a casual way to say, I think, or in my opinion. And number 4, knackered, an informal, powerful way to say you're extremely tired. Fluency isn't about knowing every word. It's about finding these little secrets that make your English come alive. Now, it's your turn. What is one English phrase that you discovered that made you feel more fluent? What's your English secret? Share your story and your phrase in the comments below. I read every single one, and your discovery might be the aha moment for someone else here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comments.